let's get into our sleepers. And let's start at the quarterback position. I don't know if there's a guy or two who really stands out to you at the position that you think, whether this guy technically qualifies as a sleeper, like maybe he's going in the later rounds or, maybe he's in the middle rounds, but I just see an inordinate amount of value in him. Who are some guys who stand out to you at quarterback?
Cam Newton is the first one that he's the only quarterback that made my little 10-player flag list that I've been doing forever and ever and ever. Like now I have listeners to my show going, I grew up with your flag list. And I go, that means I'm old. But it's like 10 guys that I'm planning a flag on liking, just saying at their value, I really like these guys. And Newton's the only quarterback who made that list. I think his ADP's probably, it's hard to know because ADP's kind of broken, but I think it's kind of coming up right now. And yet still, I don't think he's being treated as a top 12 quarterback. And I just, especially at that position in most leagues, it just doesn't matter. Like, take the chance, take the high upside guy, take Cam Newton over Kirk Cousins for heaven's sake. Like, you don't need safe. Shoot the moon, and if Cam Newton is hurt or not good or can't run or whatever, you'll figure it out. I'll say, I just did this CBS draft right before we started, and it's an IDP like 27 round thing we've been doing for years with the guys from CBS. And this is not super flex. You only start one quarterback, but the leagues are very deep rosters. And I got Aaron Rodgers as my backup to Deshaun Watson in it must have been the 17th round or something. And I understand what all the problems are with Aaron Rodgers, but if some of those 19 Aaron Jones touchdowns aren't running like if Devontae Adams doesn't keep getting tackled at the one, Aaron Rodgers spent the whole season through 4 interceptions. I know he was frustrated and frustrating, and I know the receiving core doesn't seem great, but if Adams stays healthy, Rodgers to me belongs in the top dozen quarterbacks.
I think you were right about receiving door. I think that's kind of what it is, the receiving door.
All right, Sean, where are you on quarterbacks that you think have that sleeper potential this year?
So the first guy I think has sleeper potential is Carson Wentz. And I don't specifically go out of my way to get him in a lot of drafts. I think that I've said that if I don't get one of the top 6 quarterbacks, I typically punt on quarterback and, either plan on streaming it or, get a guy that falls a bit later. But I do think Carson Wentz has the potential to be a top 5 quarterback. And I mean, if you look at last season, he finished as the QB9 despite, all the injuries they had at wide receiver. So I think with the added depth, Jalen Reagor apparently looks great in camp. He's going to get Deshaun Jackson hopefully for more than one game, and we saw how that worked out last year when he was healthy. Djax went off for 8 catches for 100-something yards and 2 touchdowns. So I think having a deep threat or 2 will definitely help him out. So, again, he's being drafted at QB 10. So he's the kind of guy where if he does fall, I would consider taking quarterback. And then the other guy is Gardner Minshew. So this is, deeper leagues that draft 2 quarterbacks. I think he does offer some pretty big upside at his ADP of quarterback 23. I've said he's going to be this year's Ryan Fitzpatrick where, the Jaguars will be in tank mode, but he might be good enough to lead them to, 5 or 6 win record and not get the first pick next year. But I think that, he has that chemistry with DJ Chark. Where they were number 1 in terms of success rate on deep balls last year. So I think they'll continue that this year. He has quite a few weapons, and also he has sneaky rushing ability. He had the 5th most 30-plus rushing yard games last year. That was more than guys like Russell Wilson and Dak Prescott. So I think it's no surprise that, there's 2 stretches last year where he started. Weeks 1 through 9, he was QB 12. Weeks 13 through 17, he was QB 14. So he's already flashed that low-end QB1 upside. So I think taking him at QB 23 is definitely a sleeper play for me.
Rayvon, where are you here?
I've talked about Daniel Jones in the past. The one with him, he does have a tough schedule to start. The guy that I'm really starting to like, and the more I dive into it, is a guy we kind of overlook a little bit because he spent the second half of the year hurt. But Matthew Stafford. Matthew Stafford is like that one pocket quarterback for me that, I've kind of taken a liking to. If you look at his numbers last year, 10.6 ADOT, and that was way up from the year before with with the old offensive coordinator. So Darrell Bevell came in, and they just started swinging it downfield. And so quarterback average depth to target. If you have the same offensive coordinator, it's a metric that stabilizes very quickly. So I actually expect that to continue. Remember the year before he was throwing to guys like Bruce Ellington and and all those guys. So this year you have Galladay and Jones back. You have deep threats, Marvin Hall. Swift is, they added Swift. We'll see what's up with his injuries, but they really have a stacked receiving core. Cephas is having a great camp. So I think Matthew Stafford is going to surprise a lot of people. And I actually, at first I was a little skeptical because he's kind of been so up and down, but looking into the numbers and exactly why he was having so much success last year, I think that it's going to continue. And I love Matthew Stafford this year.
Raybon, I'm with you there on Stafford. I do like that he was super aggressive in attacking downfield last year, and he has the players for it. And then he also, you didn't mention like Danny Amendola. It's not as if like he's someone who changes things, but like he's another like professional receiver, especially like in the slot, someone that I think is kind of a little undervalued and rounds out that wide receiver unit. So a lot of good weapons that Stafford has there. Cam Newton, I'm with Chris Harris on that one. Someone who just really stands out to me as being phenomenally undervalued, given that his shoulder has been surgically repaired, given that he's about a year removed from the foot injury. We increasingly are getting reports out of New England that looks like he's locked in to be the week 1 starter. If that happens, I think he's going to be the guy who, kind of breaks out this year, even though it seems weird to say that someone who's won an MVP would break out. But, I think people are sleeping on him too much given the value that he's shown in the past. And then Ben Roethlisberger, similar situation, a guy who was injured last year who in the past has shown the ability to put up fantasy points. And I'm expecting in that offense with the weapons he has, they're going to continue to play fast and to throw at a pretty high rate, just as they've done in the past. So Roethlisberger is someone who stands out to me.